all of the hostages after 2 years of captivity, of which I believe the number is around 48. Of course, how many of those are we going to find out are no longer alive? That is yet to be seen. In exchange for that, I think like 2,000 imprisoned individuals from the other side, the Palestinians, are part of that swap. And Monday is the day that Trump says he expects that to take place. This is a massive step towards the implementation of the peace deal overall. We'll talk a little bit about this coming up. I suspect that if Hamas is, to me, Hamas has demonstrated that they only do the things that they do for one reason and one reason only, and that is to further their cause. I don't believe that this is any different. I believe that, or what I don't believe is that they've suddenly decided, you know what, this terrorism racket's getting a little old. Why? I would just really like for us all to live together, and that's just not something I believe to be realistic, and I don't believe Trump necessarily believes that either. But what I do believe is that we have gotten to the point, because of what Trump has done, Hamas feels as if they have to do this in terms of self-preservation. They are not in control, and they recognize that, and so they are in a bit of survival mode here, as opposed to being proactive and in control, which of course they were during the previous administration. And this is, what I've long believed is that this plan serves one of two purposes, either of which one is a win. Either Hamas does miraculously decide that, this looks pretty good, we've just never seen a deal we liked before, and they decide to sign on. Or if they don't, because of the way that Trump has put all of this together, involving other countries from the Middle East, that not abiding by it and not accepting it is going to further marginalize Hamas. So the acceptance of it is a win, and even the denial of it is a win. Not as easy of a win, but one in which Hamas is going to find itself increasingly by itself, no longer an organization that has the Middle East backing it because Israel is the bad guy, but now these are countries that once upon a time were their allies, that have signed on to a deal with Israel, being part of it with the United States, with some of our European allies. And so that is further marginalizing Hamas and separating them off from the people of Gaza as well. Part of this agreement being that, Israel will pull out their security forces, and the people of Gaza will get to run Gaza. They will be in charge, but it can't be Hamas. Now, if you are the average Palestinian that just really, truly wants to be ruled by other Palestinians and have Israel out, this seems like a pretty good deal. Like, hey, this is what we want, right? So for Hamas to turn that deal down, to say, no, we're not going to do that, not only pits them against their former allies throughout the Middle East, but the people in Gaza as well. But the hostages being released in and of itself, even if it is a ploy of survival by Hamas because of the way that Trump has crafted this marginalization of Hamas and increasingly isolating them from the rest of the world and their former allies, that in and of itself is a win. We do have some audio, of course, Jake Tapper, CNN, trying to downplay it. I mean, this really isn't that big of a deal. These are people that throw peace prizes at liberals with, at the very best, symbolic peace deals. Or let's not forget, Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize just for existing. We forget this. Just because he existed. He hadn't even done anything. It was a preemptive Nobel Peace Prize. You get actual meaningful steps forward, historic steps forward, and those same people act as if, I mean, it's not that big of a deal after all, let's not get too excited about it. Well, of course. Christy Fulnecki joining us today. We also have Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone in the 8 o'clock hour now, the latest news update. One of the things we do know about that bear, because the media didn't mention it, clearly a liberal.
Why is that?
Because they didn't say whether it was a conservative or a liberal, and it killed someone, and they,
I see.
if they
I see
don't,
what you're
yeah,
saying.
if they
I
don't,
see.
yeah, when they don't label the political affiliation, you know why.
The first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 76. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 53. For your Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 79. And taking a look at Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 82.
I would joke about the political affiliation of the bear, and because it's not mentioned, clearly it was a registered Democrat or a bear that donated to a Democrat. I don't know if you know this, but they arrested someone responsible for the Palisades fires.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah. They arrested a guy, 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht, who apparently is, they say he is from Florida. Now, why he was in California, I don't know. But according to donation records, he donated to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Hybrid PAC Act Blue on a couple of separate occasions. Now, they were minimal, very minimal donations because you know how the left is, activists. They don't really like to put their money where their mouth is. But yeah, it's just fascinating that a Democrat donor is arrested for those horrific fires in which people lost their lives. Yet you just aren't seeing a lot of coverage of this. I'm sure the fact that he is, by his own accounts, a left-winger, a Democrat donor, in fact, albeit small one, has nothing whatsoever to do with the fact that this story isn't getting a lot of coverage. Latest traffic, rather. Ozark's elder law, it is in existence because not planning at all is a bad thing when it comes to your eventual demise or how it is you're going to pay for that assisted living, or not planning for someone to take over your financial responsibilities or even medical decisions if you become incapacitated. There was a time when it never would have even crossed the mind of people in government that these are things that they should be involved in, even if asked. These are family decisions. It's between the family. It's your property. Why does the government have anything to do with it? Like, particularly when it comes to who gets the family farm and who gets in. If there's fighting, well, that's the family. Government has nothing to do with that. Well, that was a long time ago. Now, government looks for any way that they can get in there, largely so that they can either take it from you and your family, or they just have that instinct to control. You might be getting away with something if they aren't the ones controlling things. And so, unfortunately, we have to protect ourselves from government. And this is where Ozark's elder law comes in. Whether that is, again, once you pass, who gets, whether it's a large estate or something much smaller, or who has power of attorney over you, or, whether, again, it's medical or we're talking about financial. I mean, there's just so many different areas. You turn 18 years old, you need to have this stuff in writing. Day after your 18th birthday, if something happens to you, you're in some sort of accident, you can't make these decisions for yourself. You are 18. The day you turn 18, in fact. Guess who's making those decisions? Government. Mom and dad aren't able to do it any longer because you are a legal adult. Ozark's elder law, 10 area locations, consultations absolutely free to let you know what you need to do to make sure you're protected from the government coming in and taking over. You can find them at ozarkselderlaw.com, also under Nick's endorsements at ksgf.com. Trump announcing phase 1 of the peace deal between Israel and Hamas, saying that it is signed, hostages to be released, and Trump last night, I believe it was with Hannity, had said he believed Monday is going to be the day that this happens. There's also been different reports he may actually travel to the Middle East as part of this advancement in the agreement. Over on CNN, here's Jake Tapper on this historic, meaningful advancement of the peace deal.
Obviously, blessed are the peacemakers indeed, but it is worth pointing out, this is a ceasefire deal, right? This is not a larger peace deal about a Palestinian state of any sort and who gets to rule a Palestinian state, and Israel gets security guarantees, how, and all that. That is still TBD, right?
I mean, yes, but, because the yes, but part of that is that, yes, this is the first phase of this deal where the two key parts of that was a ceasefire and the release of the hostages, and also the release of Palestinian prisoners that are being held in Israel.
So, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, let's be realistic about it. Now, I do believe in being realistic about it, and we've talked about this. From an objective perspective, what the expectations are. What will happen, what won't happen. What Trump's approach is every avenue, every branch of the tree, every choose your own ending will result in some sort of positive outcome. And if Hamas, for whatever reason, decided to turn over a new leaf and they were just going to abide by this in the name of peace, and then awesome, highly unlikely, but awesome. But even if they don't, rejecting it is rejecting an alliance Trump has created with what once upon a time were their allies. The landscape is completely different. So their rejection still advances that region of the world towards a more peaceful end. Hamas, in the past, the way that they've operated is to pretend to buy grace. They purchase grace by saying, oh, yeah, okay, we'll go along with this. When they feel that they're backed into a corner and it is their strategic advantage to say, all right, this is something that we'll do, only to at some point reverse course and go back to their old ways. And in the past, this has been relatively successful for them, because the world would then, blame the Jews. It's Israel's fault because Israel would retaliate. Trump's calculation here is one in which, if Hamas behaves in the same way that they've always behaved in the past, it is going to result in a much different reaction from the people that once upon a time would instead blame Israel for retaliating, because now this will be a betrayal of an agreement with those other countries as well. And I think that Hamas may find itself very surprised if at some point, which I expect they will, they pull out of the deal, and I mean, maybe not officially, but they violate portions of it, that the once upon a time allies of that region, of Gaza and the Palestinian people, and that they will be ticked off and annoyed. And the further into the completion of the total peace agreement, the more aggravated I believe they will get, because they'll be like, are you serious? We came this close and now you're going to screw this thing up? I just see, when you understand how Trump approaches stuff, when you begin to recognize the way that he crafts these deals, the way that he creates these alliances, and the purpose behind the alliance, much of this becomes very, very clear. And what is really just fascinating about it is you have all these egghead brainiacs that pat themselves on the back and give themselves awards like Nobel Peace Prizes because they can't come up with these overly convoluted, bureaucratic peace deals in which there really isn't any incentive for any of the players involved to fulfill the peace deal other than just, quote, peace itself, which clearly isn't enough. If it were, there wouldn't be war to begin with. And they don't mean anything. They don't result in actual peace. And those people see Donald Trump as some sort of ham-fisted idiot, essentially, who has no sophistication to his thinking. He's just some idiot that bumbles his way through from day to day because he's just an entertainer after all. Yet he is the one that manages to, with great thought and understanding of human behavior, to craft these deals using that knowledge. And while people who hate Trump or are indifferent to Trump or maybe even like Trump dismiss this as yet just another, well, he just kind of got lucky. Just like he got lucky with the Abraham Accords. And just like he got lucky with the 7 other peace deals that he crafted that stopped, in some instances, wars that have been going on decades between countries. And they will try and dismiss it as, well, he just keeps getting lucky over and over and over again. The fact of the matter is, he manages to successfully do what everyone else says they want to do and they try to do, but they can't do. That's what matters in the end. And I just find it humorous that people who fancy themselves as so brilliant really insult themselves by claiming Donald Trump is an idiot, yet he does things that they are incapable of doing. What does that say about you? What does that say about your abilities? What does that say about your level of sophistication when it comes to worldly events? That this guy you claim is some sort of Wreck-It Ralph buffoon, yet he manages to run circles around you when it comes to actual results. I read to you what I thought was an extremely compelling letter from family members of these hostages. and some family members of some hostages that have been released, some who are still being held, and some who have, we know and their families know that they were killed. And they collectively have written a letter and submitted it to whomever it is that determines who gets Nobel Peace Prizes, and laying out their argument for why it is Donald Trump, without question, should receive the Nobel Peace Prize. And tomorrow is the day that those selections are made. And I believe it would be extremely difficult, for a number of reasons I talked about the other day, for that committee to not award Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. But now, particularly now, that the day before they hit that deadline, you have this announcement by Hamas that they've agreed at least to the hostage release aspect of this thing. I mean, if that committee does not award that prize to Donald Trump at this point, I think that they will have, without question, completely eviscerated any credibility that award has at this point. And as I mentioned the other day, probably the single most enjoyable aspect of all of that, as wrong as it may be, will be watching the liberals just choke on that. And because, they'll have to talk about it. And the way, I can't wait. I can't wait. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. iwantagreathomeloan.com. If you have home loan needs, you have the characters and their team at iwantagreathomeloan.com. Use them for their expertise. They are not just there to help guide you through the process. Back when Don, of course, was, before he retired and he ran that show over there, he oftentimes said, we're sort of like the person that sees the maze. You got the maze and then the mice running through the maze. And when you're looking at it from the top, you see which paths to go down, which ones you don't want to, what you want to avoid. And he said, that's what we do when it comes to navigating people through that home loan process. You'd think it would be easy. It's not like when you go to get a cell phone or something simple and they're like, well, we got to run a credit check, and we ran it. Okay, you're approved. That's it. Let's get you signed up. Unfortunately, it's so much more complicated than that, largely thanks to government regulations that are supposed to make your life easier, but of course, make it more difficult. That's where they come in. So utilizing them in that capacity is to your benefit, but even prior to you deciding, yes, we're ready to refinance, or that reverse mortgage, or whatever it may be, utilize them with any questions you have, or tell them, hey, we're thinking about buying a home, but we just, we don't even know what we don't know. Could we talk with you for a while so we can be better informed? They are there for that as well. iwantagreathomeloan.com, because you do. I want to play some audio coming up. President Trump had, along, I know, with Kristi Noem at one point, Marco Rubio was there. In fact, he showed up with a handwritten note he handed to Trump saying Hamas has agreed to phase one of the, while speaking to this round table discussion yesterday. But I want to play some of the audio of a couple of these different independent journalists. One actually, I don't know if she's an independent journalist or a journalist at all any longer, but she used to be a mainstream journalist in Seattle with one of the major networks, and by her own declaration was infected for about 10 years with Trump derangement syndrome. And covering Antifa locally was a real wake-up call for her regarding the media, her industry, and how dishonest they are when it comes to covering this stuff. And she gave some thoughts as well, so we'll play that coming up here. Traffic update, I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 76. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 53. For your Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 79. And taking a look at Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 82.
All right, I'm trying to line up the order here. This is okay. There was a roundtable discussion with independent journalists yesterday at the White House. Trump was there, Kristi Noem was there. I know at some point Marco Rubio was there. There were a number of individuals, and it was an interesting mixture, I guess, because of like what I would say are actual real journalists were the ones that were part of the roundtable discussion, and in the audience were fake journalists. And by fake journalists, I mean mainstream journalists. It's this weird upside down world because the mainstream journalists, the ones that go to their, Mizzou, and they get that journalism degree, and look at me, I'm an official journalist because I work for NBC or ABC or CNN. I work for an official news network, and they see these independent journalists as not real journalists. Well, they're not really journalists. They just go out there, and I mean, just because you have a microphone and a camera doesn't mean you're a journalist, and I agree with that. But the mainstream journalists are the ones who believe, who actually operate in that way. Look at these fancy cameras, the fancy studio, and then add into that a fancy degree from a really expensive college, and in their minds, that means they're a journalist. But that's not journalism. The people they look down on, because they may not have a fancy degree and be paid by some corporation to come in and read off a teleprompter, but they actually are covering things that are happening. They're asking questions. They are bringing forward information to the American people that the American people did not know until they brought them that information. It's kind of the point of journalism. One of the journalists, a video journalist by the name of Nick Shirley, he talked about how he just, at one point, this was a quote. It's pretty short audio of him, so I'll just read you the quote. He noted, a member of Antifa said he would smoke me. Next thing he knew, a DHS sniper had lasers on his chest, and he said, these people are very dangerous. These cities are not enforcing the law. Why should these people be worried if the law is not being enforced? This is the partnership that Antifa has with Democrat-run cities. They know that they are ultimately in control. They know that they have free reign. It's like drug cartels in areas of Mexico. There's this unspoken agreement. There are certain areas of Mexico they're allowed to run, they're allowed to shake down certain people, they're allowed to go after certain people, but then there are certain areas it's understood, okay, you stay away from that and we're going to be all right. Of course, we have to put on a show as the federales, the Mexican government, we have to put on a big, oh yeah, we're coming after you. We'll do every so often some sort of drug bust for the cameras, but there's this unspoken and oftentimes probably behind the scenes spoken guidelines and rules and boundaries that allow them to coexist. It is the relationship that the Democrat Party had with the Klan during Reconstruction. Same situation. You had activists within the Democrat Party that utilized threats and intimidation and violence in order to get their way politically, and they wore masks in order to hide their identity. We talked about this earlier in the week. The fact that in the Democrat-run cities, law enforcement would stand down and let the Klan wreak terror upon the people because these were Democrat-run areas, and they were carrying out the threats and intimidation on behalf of the Democrat ideals and goals. And so that was the relationship. And it's the same relationship that exists between Antifa and the Democrat Party today. And so as that one particular journalist noted, Nick Shirley, yesterday, that, the cities are not enforcing the laws. Why would these people be worried if the law is not being enforced? And it's worse than that, I would argue. It's not a matter of worrying, it's comfort. Because they're serving the same purpose. They're using the same verbiage. That they are on the same page. They're just different divisions of the same movement. You have the marketing division. You have the narrative division. This is the media, the Democrat politicians. You have the intimidation and violence and threats and terrorism division of the Democrat Party. That's Antifa. One of the other independent reporters speaking yesterday, Katie, well, let's see, what's the name? I actually have it. Daviscourt, Katie Daviscourt. Now, Katie was just recently attacked by the Democrat activist of Antifa, and I think she even notes in this this clip here I'm going to play for you, and you see it in the video. She's got a black eye. She still has visual injuries from being attacked as a journalist.
What is happening in Portland at the ICE facility? I've been covering this for the past 4 months, and this is a call out to corporate media who has completely ignored this story or has falsely reported on it. This is nothing short other than a sustained attack on the United States, which is being supported by Democratic elected officials. The Portland Police Bureau has completely abandoned several blocks outside the ICE facility, giving away their jurisdiction to a terrorist group who has spent the past 4 months harassing, assaulting, and intimidating anyone they perceive to be against their cause. Not only have federal agents been relentlessly assaulted for more than 100 consecutive days, black-clad anarchist militants concealing their identities behind black facial coverings have been assaulting reporters just for trying to cover their crimes. Today, I am sitting here with a black eye and a concussion after being violently hit in the face with a metal pole. while reporting outside the ICE facility just this past week. After the attack, I immediately went to three Portland police officers who refused to detain the suspect. I took the time to chase down the suspect in the streets, had her held for 35 minutes. I was waiting for Portland police to come, and they never came. Then that's what opened my eyes to what this group is actually doing. I watched 20 Antifa militants help my assault suspect escape into an Antifa safe house that is 1 block away from the ICE facility. And this safe house is where Antifa-affiliated protesters are conducting paramilitary operations. It's where they're arresting, they're showering, they're eating to continue this occupation. I have staked out this safe house and have observed shift changes. This is being funded through mutual aid groups, and they have no plans of stopping. Residents living across the ICE facility have been held hostage by Antifa. They're begging for federal intervention. The city refuses to help, and they want you, President Trump, to come in and restore law and order.
Antifa is an organization that still Democrats claim isn't actually a real organization. Joe Biden noted, it was, well, I don't know if he was the first, but he was certainly, in terms of high-profile Democrats, to declare that Antifa didn't actually exist. It was just an idea. And that is a theme we continue to hear from Democrats, that this is something that Republicans are making up, that this isn't a real organization, apparently an idea, beat this woman up and left her with a black eye. That's one heck of an idea. After traffic, I want to play audio. Andy No, he is a journalist that is also openly part of the LGBT community, despite the fact that the Democrat activist and Antifa hospitalized him with a brain hemorrhage because he was reporting on what they were doing. Not any outcry from the LGBT community. No protests in the street of gay bashing. No warnings from elected officials about the dangers of the Antifa organization when it comes to the LGBT community. None of that. See, it doesn't matter in this instance. So we'll have his audio, and a former mainstream journalist who, by her own accord, had 8 or 10 years of Trump derangement syndrome, but was cured when she saw how it was that elected Democrats and the media were lying about what has been going on with these riots and Antifa, all that coming up. The Pyramid Roofing Company text line 417-447-KSGF. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. Wanted to read a review from my friends over at Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. Elizabeth wrote, I would recommend Foreman Mechanical to anyone. They are responsive and get you taken care of in a timely manner. Courteous and professional servicemen, I would 100% recommend. And let's read another one, shall we? Melissa said, our heater went out the night before and they were out first thing in the morning when I called. They found a quick solution and will follow up with me with annual services. Great company. And, I always talk about the amazing work that the Foreman team did out at my home, but I do also recommend that you take a look at the reviews, because one thing that you will see over and over again is that they are friendly, affordable, and honest. So whatever your HVAC needs, whether you have a repair that pops up or it's time to schedule that annual maintenance, reach out to Russell today. Now you can find all of the contact information for Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at KSGF.com.
I referenced Democrats viewing Trump as Wreck-It Ralph, and someone texted in, what the heck is Wreck-It Ralph? Do you know Wreck-It Ralph?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it was a Disney or Pixar character. In fact, I believe there were two movies, but the premise, Wreck-It Ralph, was a video game character that, if I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I've seen the movie. He was a video game character that his character was a bad guy that would just go around. He was big and dumb, got these giant hands, and all he did was, just make a mess of everything. That was his only skill as some sort of buffooned idiot, was to just break things, and served no other purpose than to wreak havoc. And he gets tired of being stereotyped as this character, and so he plots to escape the game that he's in and prove that he's actually more than just some sort of buffoon and some sort of idiot. And so that's the character Wreck-It Ralph. And I just Trump is, I believe, when it comes to dealing with a lot of these particular issues and even, again, crafting these incredible deals that are historic, that bring peace to just across the world. And it just befuddles the left. They write it off as, well, it probably would have happened anyway, or, oh, he just got lucky, because in their minds, he's this Wreck-It Ralph. He's just this big-fisted buffoon who's good for nothing other than creating destruction everywhere that he goes. That's Wreck-It Ralph. I want to go back to some of this audio. Yesterday, the White House, Trump specifically, held a round-table discussion regarding Antifa, and the folks at the round table were independent journalists that actually covered Antifa, that have been covering Antifa, because, unfortunately, the mainstream media does not do so. Or they claim it's mostly peaceful, or their coverage is having Democrats come on and claim that it's not really a problem at all. In fact, it's just an idea. It doesn't even actually exist. One of the reporters is Andy No. Now, he's a journalist that actually gets in there on the ground and covers the stories. He is also openly homosexual. And I find it remarkable that despite the targeted physical attacks on him from the left, no one in the LGBT community has stood up to defend him. If this were ideologically the other way around, if you had, we can only imagine, a bunch of right-wing conservatives that targeted some homosexual left-wing journalist and beat him so badly he was hospitalized, I think we'd know about it. And it would also be a hate crime. But because No is not some left-winger that knows his place, no big deal. Here he is yesterday in the White House talking about Antifa.
And I was assigned to cover the election night demonstrations. Well, the elections night protests turned to riots, 3 days of violent rioting in Portland, and it was the first time that I saw groups dressed in black with their faces covered. This is 4 years before COVID. Some of them were waving the black flag of anarchism, some the red flag of Marxism. And within seconds, they would ravage one street to another, to another, to another. And the next day, I would read the legacy media, which I still read at that time and looked forward to, and I looked up to those journalists. And I was really shocked to see that the narrative was that these, in my view, anti-democratic political violence was legitimate acts of protest because people were concerned about racism or all these other lies. And so for the next 4 years, I just continued going out with my video camera. I thought, look, people can ignore what I write because of spin, but videos can quite speak for themselves. And in 2019, it led to me nearly losing my life. I was covering another Antifa protest turned riot. At that point, had been routine in Portland. And then I was ambushed in a mob beating. And I had never been in a fight. I didn't even realize that I was being assaulted until seconds in. And the punches came from everywhere on my head and my face, and I was bleeding out of my eyes and ears. And then they threw all the drinks in my eyes to humiliate me further and to laugh at me. And I was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance and CT scan, and I had subarachnoid hemorrhage, which is bleeding in the brain. I nearly died. And after surviving that, the reporting that I saw in liberal media it seemed to suggest that I had deserved it because they branded me far right. And some even went so far as to suggest that I maybe faked my injuries. A BuzzFeed reporter asked for my medical records, which I did provide, but this felt so, it's like because I didn't die in that attack, there was another round of people who wanted to finish me off.
Incidentally, not only is he openly homosexual, but he's Asian, which means he's a minority. But as he noted, he was labeled far right because he was actually covering the truth at videoing what was actually happening with Antifa. I really want to try to get in audio from a former mainstream reporter on this. We've got to get a traffic update. I'm Nick Reed. All right, this is another former mainstream journalist at the Antifa roundtable discussion in the White House yesterday.
They're nothing. And I was told by probably a dozen people not to tell you this. I'm going to tell it to you anyway, because it's relevant to what we're talking about. I'm living proof that you can recover from TDS. I had strong Trump derangement syndrome for probably 8 years. This is one of the reasons I recovered from it. And by the way, it's much better to not have TDS. I'm happier, I'm healthier, more successful. I even think I got a little more attractive after I got rid of my Trump derangement syndrome. Yes. You know, I'm a reporter in Seattle, and frankly, I could not care any less what any of you have to say about this meeting. Could not care any less. We're not here for you. I'm not here to convince any of you that Antifa is a real thing, because if you have not come to that conclusion by now, you are never going to come to that conclusion because you don't want to see it. And you're going to go and you're going to say it's a bunch of right-wing conservative influencers who are here spinning a tale. I was one of you.
I was a mainstream reporter in Seattle for 10 years. I was a TV reporter on the streets doing my job, and I was still assaulted by Antifa. So it's not about being conservative. It's about people who go there and show what they're doing. And when I saw, after all those years, that the media wouldn't be honest about what was happening, that Democratic politicians wouldn't be honest about what was happening, I thought, well, gosh, if they're not being honest about that, maybe they're not being honest about President Trump either. And it opened my mind to just looking at things for what they were. And now I find you quite funny, actually. Now like I said, I'm much happier about it. But, for me, again, I could not care any less the stories that they go to print.
Yeah, it's amazing when that Trump derangement syndrome gets cured, how much clarity, and not just that, but the darkness gets lifted away. But Antifa, we're still told, isn't real. It's just an idea. Springfield's Talk 104.1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Nick Reed. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. If you want the most awesome realtor ever in the entire existence of humankind, then I know she's at least top 5. I would say she's at least top 5.
Are you
The
asking me?
most. No, it's a statement. I just
No,
thought
it is.
if you,
That was-
yeah,
I
top 5
agree.
most amazing realtors ever in the history of mankind.
What
But
a
she
good
could
ad.
be. She could be one.
Yeah.
She could be one, but confidently I say top 5. And don't just take my word for it. You can read reviews, whether it's buying a home, selling a home, or if you are needing to do both at the same time, that can be very intimidating. Perhaps you don't need someone, but you have friends or family, or maybe your church is going to be welcoming someone who's going to be moving as a political refugee from somewhere like California or New York or Colorado. And what a great introduction to the area to have somebody like Emily Johnson help them find a home. So whatever your needs, or anybody that you care about, if it's somebody you don't like so much, I wouldn't recommend her, just because, I'm kidding. You should. It'd be a great way to bridge that relationship. The best, Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. I recommend you do follow her on social media. You can also find her under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. Do you have Taylor Swift's new album there?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Aren't you? Are you a Taylor Swift fan?
No, I'm not. Well, I took my older 3 to see her a long time ago, when they were younger. But no, apparently my older 3 said that, that I guess her latest album is pretty inappropriate.
So here's what I love, and this is what we're going to talk about. It is.
We're gonna talk about this whole time.
Yes, for an hour.
Oh, I can't wait
Yeah.
to talk about Taylor Swift for a whole hour.
My wife had relayed. She was telling me about some of the lyrics, and it's clear. I think to most normal people, they aren't the sort of lyrics that most people would want their children to
Right,
hear.
exactly.
And Taylor Swift has the right to do what she wants to. If she wants to shift from the sort of artist that parents could feel very comfortable and not have to worry, do I have to go through the lyrics? Do I have to, going to feel uncomfortable with children hearing these lyrics? Because I just think it's weird to be around kids and watch, hear sexual things. To me, that's weird.
Oh, believe me, I live it every day.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
In court, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I bet you do.
Oh, I do live that every day.
And so I don't know. Some adults just don't think that's odd, and for me, it's just weird. But nonetheless, and so if Taylor Swift wants to evolve into the sort of artist that parents aren't able to just confidently bring their kids to without having to worry about that stuff, she has every right to do it. I think it's kind of unfortunate, because that was one of the great things about her as an artist, is that she was as widely popular as she was, and she was just, you didn't have to worry about that stuff. But
that's kind of like Miley Cyrus, because she did the same thing. Yeah, I'm telling you,
I don't know why they have this instinct to do it. Maybe they just get bored, or they feel. I just don't understand it. I don't know, but I'm not an artist either.
Yeah.
Maybe they feel like they have to. I'm sure they get prodded by the people that make money off of them. The labels and whomever else. Oftentimes, you got to be more controversial, because you you got to be edgier, you got to start being inappropriate. So, but again, she can do what she wants to. But the real scorn is coming from the left. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I love this. This is what we'll talk about here.
Okay.
Coming up.
Yeah, it's I have a lot to say about this topic, actually. Surprisingly.
Yeah,
well, no,
it is.
because
Surprising.
so my husband and I we like going to concerts, obviously,
Yes.
because we talk about it a lot. But so my older 3, so I had the 3 right together, and then there's a space of like 1 or 2 years, and then the other 3. So I said, okay, I'll take the older 3 to concerts. When the other 3 get older, I'll start taking them. So it was like One Direction, Taylor Swift when she was very appropriate for younger girls. And I can't remember who else. There was 3 or 4 of them. But just recently, I've started looking, and there's nothing. Like, I took them all to Maverick City, which is Christian music, and then they're kind of breaking up. I don't know what's going on with them. And Brandon Lake is now touring. He was one of the ones that sang at Charlie Kirk's memorial. And so there are a lot of good Christian music, some country. but it's really hard to find something that's appropriate for kids. And Jonas Brothers is a story, but I'm like, this is almost
I
impossible
know.
to find something that you can actually take your
Well,
kids
and
to.
that's why I think it's sad culturally that Taylor Swift has moved away from that. And I mean, Morgan read to me some of the lyrics, and
Oh, yeah,
they
I
were
read 'em. They were-
very
yeah.
like they're
Oh, yeah,
rated R to X. Some of them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them maybe not that bad. And so she's sort of getting like into the Nicki Minaj and the that sort of area.
Well-
And it may not be like every one of her songs, but still, just the point being is it's sad that there was such a popular worldwide artist that kids would be so excited to go see, and you didn't have to worry about that stuff. And for us to, I guess, not to have that as an option now for kids is just unfortunate. But again, hey, I mean, she can do whatever she wants. It's her choice.
Yeah. I mean, some of the artists have, and I used to like Sam Smith and his music.
Oh,
And he is,
It's
I mean,
full-blown
totally
satanic.
good. Yeah.
Full-blown satanic.
Talk about demonic. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some that are straight up like
Oh, yeah,
dressing as a devil. And so, I mean, that's an explanation. People could do whatever they want, but I mean, it's really hard to find anything.
It's too
And I
bad.
could talk about this topic because,
Well, and it was the opposite. It seemed like 20, 30 years ago, where
Yeah.
where almost all of the artists were safe. There were just maybe a few that, even when it came to lyrics, I mean, Madonna's performances, maybe she.
oh yeah, I
started,
remember that was like so
Yeah.
shocking.
But-
Like
but-
some of
but-
her words.
Yeah, but
And when she had it at the church, and I can't remember
Yeah.
what song it was, but it was so shocking to
It-
the culture. I remember.
Well, and she, like a prayer. The video is what really
Yeah,
got a
that's
lot
what
of
it was.
the
Yeah.
attention. Because I think Pepsi pulled her. She was anyway. But it was,
Boy,
it was
times have
I
changed.
know, right?
Yeah.
But even the lyrics were relatively benign. You listen to even somebody like Madonna that was so shocking at the time, and it was. Usually like gangster rap, like, oh, well, clearly that would be a genre you wouldn't want to take your kids to. But now it's like your point, you can't even find any
Well-
of these mainstream artists that don't have something where they just feel as if they have to do that sort of thing.
Well, and it's a reflection of the society
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you wouldn't have a market for it if people
No,
weren't
it's true.
wanting
Absolutely
to.
true, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's.
But I'm sure she'll be praised, how brave and wonderful. Well, I say that. Normally that would come from the left, but the left are attacking her. We'll talk about that
Okay.
coming up here with Christy Fulnecki.
The first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 76. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 53. For your Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 79. And taking a look at Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 82.
Someone texted in, tell Christy to take the kids to Weird Al Yankovic.
What?
Weird Al, you know Weird Al.
He's touring?
He was here a few years ago. Yeah, he's touring.
Oh, okay.
Well, I
That
don't know.
is-
I don't know like if he's in tour right now, but he's very very active. Let's get a traffic update
okay.
more with Christy Fulnecki ahead. I'm Nick Reed. All right, lots of great rebates and new Hondas this month. Pinnaker Honda, fresh off their first green tag deal, still have some new incredible offers. Money off new Accords, $2,000 rebate. New CRVs, $1,000 rebate. New Civics, $1,500 rebate. And the new Honda Pilots, $1,000 rebate, plus low monthly payments on the 26 CRV as low as $448 a month, plus $1,000 loyalty offer, monthly payments based off 4.99% APR for 72 months and $5,099 down. And then, of course, all sorts of other incredible deals. Tomorrow's Friday, which means there will be a food truck out there. Barry from Pinnaker Honda should be joining us at Scramblers tomorrow. And there's that Pinnaker Advantage 20% off routine maintenance when you buy your Honda at Pinnaker Honda. Chrissy Vilnecki is with us. So Taylor Swift. The Life of a Showgirl album angering woke Swifties. Everything from claiming that she is secretly using lyrics to try to recruit people to join Donald Trump's MAGA America.
What?
To she is promoting eugenics and Nazism. Oh yeah, her.
I did not get that from reading the lyrics.
Well, I mean, these people on the left are nuts. They are paranoid delusions.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Okay. Although Taylor Swift, left-wing Democrat, has made no secret of this, including her endorsement of Kamala Harris because of this song "Canceled," which contains the lyrics, "I like my friends canceled. Some are wondering if she's gone MAGA." I like my friends canceled is the most tone-deaf lyrics a white billionaire with MAGA friends could release in this climate. Wrote one disillusioned Swiftie. MAGA friends is an obvious reference to Swift's friend, Brittany Mahomes, who committed the sin of liking a social media post about the GOP's 2024 political platform. This is how insane these people are.
Man.
So because Taylor Swift has not cut off Brittany Mahomes is a friend due to the fact that Mahomes liked a post, they think that this song is about her, which means that they have to now hate her because she, unlike a good cult member, hasn't shut off everyone with whom she may have disagreements.
But Nick, that's very rational.
Oh yeah, it's very rational.
That's right.
These are completely normal, rational people. In a reference to Shakespeare's Ophelia, character in Hamlet, who likely killed herself after the title character spurned her. In Swift's The Fate of Ophelia, Swift thanks the man who saved her from the same fate. That was met with lefty Swifties.
That was triggering a bit.
One wrote, as an actual English major, I refuse to listen to a song that implies Ophelia might have reconsidered killing herself if she had just dated a quarterback.
Oh my gosh. Well, I heard "Thanking a Man," and I thought, oh, that's really going to make liberals upset.
This is what they do. They just constantly look for reasons to try and destroy people.
Whoa.
And what is interesting about it is people like Taylor Swift, I think that they think they're safe. Not only safe, but, I am an icon to these people. No one is safe from the left.
That's right.
Including people on the left. In fact, they will turn against those individuals with almost a greater degree of venom because they're traitors. You know, they're supposed to know better. And so, the other song, she's being accused of promoting white supremacy and eugenics, and Nazism.
Who are these people?
They're left. They're all left-wing women.
I know.
The worst.
I'm telling you.
The worst.
I mean, you would think that they would like that she's going the dark side.
No, I mentioned this yesterday or the day before we were talking about this, and there was, I've seen a clip of a guy, I think he was a comedian, but he was talking about how the thing about people on the left is there's never a far enough to the left.
Yeah, right.
Like
there's not a limit.
You think you are the most left-wing person. There's always someone who is further, and the problem is that means you're MAGA. Like, it doesn't matter how far left you are.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Taylor Swift. She used her power to try and, and Kamala Harris wasn't the first Democrat. She has, I remember when Marsha Blackburn was running in Tennessee, and a white guy who was a Democrat was running against her, and Taylor Swift tried to get him elected over the female, Marsha Blackburn. and she wasn't successful. But she's and with all the clout and all of the meaningful difference it could make, all that is irrelevant because I mean, so it doesn't matter how obedient you are to the cause. The moment that they think you have done anything that is out of step, they come for you.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing with her. And I just
Well, hopefully she changes her mind and comes to the other side.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
I don't know,
or
but
maybe
then she
she'll
has
just get out.
Kelsey's influence, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
and I just hope that she gets, well, I don't know what his ideas and political beliefs are. I have no idea. I generally find people who are successful athletes, because they recognize success comes through actual hard work and not making excuses, they tend to be more conservative, because liberalism is all about it's everyone else's fault. Everyone
vaccination thing.
Well, yeah, now that,
So
yes.
that kind of made
So,
me think
yeah.
that he was.
So who knows? But who knows? I don't know. But it's just it's. I wonder if I just wonder what she thinks about this.
Yeah,
Being accused of being a MAGA person, being accused of being a racist, being accused of all of these things that she may very well have in her mind thought herself about Trump and Trump supporters, and now that she's being lobbed in with it, and it's enough to where it's getting news story. Oh yeah,
now.
yeah, I know.
Parents will at least listen to the lyrics of her songs before they take their kids to the concerts. I'm telling you, I know I have to say this, it's a little off topic, but I am seeing so much abuse in court. It's like every one of my cases, I'm trying to help somebody that their kids are being sexually abused. I'm telling you, it's our culture is going down the tubes. It's so bad. And the thing that I'm seeing, I know this is a little off topic, but I have to say something because it's so prevalent that now, and somebody was asking me this yesterday, and that if you hotline, that you suspect that your kids are being abused, now they're saying that you are the one that's abusing your kids because you're hotlining them. So multiple cases throughout the Kansas City, St. Louis, all around Southwest Missouri. I had a case that went into the juvenile court, took the kids, even though his mom kept hotlining the dad that he was abusing the kids, and they took him into juvenile care, even though the mom wasn't accused of doing anything. So, I mean, you would be shocked at everything going on. But it reminds me of this Taylor Swift thing because, somebody said yesterday, well, how is a court system, the family court, how did it become like this? I said, because you devalue kids,
right?
You sexualize kids, and you have abortion down. Now, look where we are now. And now you have that it's okay if you sexually abuse your kids in court. And I mean, it's hard to prove, but still, I mean, it is just astonishing, the stuff that I see.
Well, and when you consistently, you come up with these mantras like, well, love is love. That is rationale for child molesters. That is rationale for teachers who want to have sex with middle school kids. They're like, well, love is love. I see it on billboards like that. That's just, as long as it feels right and that's, quote, who I am, then I'm okay to do it. And it gives this permission. And then, in fact, one of the things we're going to talk about is Springfield News Leader has a story. Here's how to mark Let Freedom Read Day, last day of Banned Book Week in Springfield. And it mentions a number of books like All Boys Aren't Blue and some of these others that you're talking about pornography. And,
oh, wow.
And
really?
I've long argued that when it comes to public schools, virtually everyone feels that there are certain books that are not appropriate. And those that are. And when it comes to banning books, the left likes to ban things that are usually based off of ideas and thoughts, particularly things that are more conservative. The right, when they are saying these are books that are inappropriate, it's pornography.
Yeah, right.
And it's just, of all the books that the left goes to bat for in schools, the fact that it's pornography, and in elementary schools oftentimes, and then and then they act appalled and shocked whenever young people start sending each other's nudes, and like we try to explain to them, this is going to stay with you forever, but you are filling them with this stuff. You pump all of that in, and then you act like you can't figure out why they then act as an output for it.
Yeah.
Or why they think, you tell them over and over again this messaging of when it comes to sexuality that you know what you want and we should
Yeah,
listen
and you
to
talk about it all
you.
the time in
Yeah,
school.
and but
Yeah.
then then if you have some hormone-driven teenager that is told by the system and the culture and the schools that you do what you want, don't let anyone shame you. When it comes to sexuality, explore. And, oh, well, how about my teacher then? Like,
I
why would
know
we be
there's no
shocked by
yeah.
this? And then
I
the
know.
teachers are willing to go along with it because you have, and it's just consistently women that are in their 20s, sometimes into their 30s, sometimes older, and it's guys. This is not a coincidence. This is happening. And then you have these young women that are teaching these guys who are hormone driven all this sexuality and stuff, and then it's just like, we just can't figure out why this is happening. Are you a bunch of idiots or something? You really can't figure this stuff out. And then, for good measure, let's put pornography in the libraries for these kids. And they know if they don't know what they're doing, then they are so deranged.
Yeah, and we let these wackos take over our culture and our schools and
Yeah.
our,
And then they
I mean
claim
that's
we're extremist because we're like,
No.
this may not be a good idea.
I mean, how did it get to a point then you're talking about sexuality in school? Like
I
when did
know.
it start? I mean, it's 10, 15 years ago, but I mean, now in Southwest Missouri, we have teachers that would until this they took it out, but had the pride flag in their classroom and not the American flag. This is one of my cases. And then the teacher was trying to transition special needs kids.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
That's
going
who they
on
target.
right here. I mean, I could go on and name all these cases that have just infiltrated. And I keep thinking, I don't know why, the image of Billy Graham that he said, it's been like 20 years ago, but he said it was during some speech, and he said the reason the evil persists is because Christians have not stood up for the Christian values. I mean, and Christians have not even started fighting until I would say probably the last 5 years since COVID. And we wonder like why our society is so screwed
But
up.
I will. Some of that is on the church as well, because if you are, I understand why Christians don't stand up to it, because if they go to church Sunday morning,
that's
Sunday
true, yeah.
evening, Wednesday, and they have a church whose policy is to not talk about those things because it may be offensive and that's political, well, then why would they?
Yeah.
What
And that's what we
you're
love.
not, as a shepherd, you are not instilling in them this understanding that, hey, these are things that are bad. So of course they're not going to say anything and put up a fight because you clearly haven't demonstrated it's a priority.
Well, yeah. And that really was on full display last year. And I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. Last year in Missouri, when we were talking about the abortion and allowing abortion and moving away from the abortion ban and everything. And so, I mean, if you're not going to, like you said, have a church, I think it is our church, he stood up and talked about it a lot, about this issue. But, especially Catholic churches, that you have to stand up and whatever you think of it, I mean, you have to defend life, and that should be, but in the United States, the Catholic churches have not done that. And why is it surprising that abortion is so rampant? Because how do you expect people, like you said, to stand up? And what about being a warrior in the Bible? I mean, you're supposed to be a warrior, not supposed to sit around and let evil take over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Agreed.
I mean, I see some dark stuff. I have to tell you.
I'm glad I mean, I'm aware of it, I know, but given what it is that you do, and I can only imagine. Christy Fulnecki with us. More coming up here. The Pyramid Roofing Company text line 417-447-KSGF. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 76. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 53. For your Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 79. And taking a look at Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 82.
Christy Fulnecki here, a news leader story. Here's how to mark Let Freedom Read Day, last day of Banned Book Week in Springfield. Relatively short story, but I thought I'd share it here. This week marks Banned Books Week, a week that draws attention to national and local efforts, past and present, to restrict access to certain books, to celebrate the freedom to read and spotlight the books that have even been targeted by censorship efforts. A local group is hosting a giveaway event. Vote 417, a local civics initiative focused on voting rights, public education, and a free press, hosting a banned book pop-up giveaway at Mother's Brewing Company to celebrate access to all books, taking place 2 to 4 Saturday. This Saturday, the last day of Banned Books Week, is also marked as Let Freedom Read Day. The first 25 visitors will receive a free copy of a classic novel that has been banned or challenged somewhere in the United States, according to Vote 417. Titles include Fahrenheit 451, Diary of Anne Frank, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, To Kill a Mockingbird, and Catcher in the Rye. Now, what I find funny is most of those, the pressure to ban or censor them has been from the left.
Yeah, right. That's what I was going to say.
And the anti-Semitic wing of the Democrat Party, they clearly don't like Diary of Anne Frank. I'm sure they see her as probably a real pain in the butt, or she was. And Huckleberry Finn, To Kill a Mockingbird, all for reasons of language. Huckleberry Finn, for example, when it comes to the description of black people. The piece goes on to say, while these classic pieces of literature have been subject to removal and restricted access, new titles have dominated more recent years' top challenge list for the 24-25 school year. That list included A Clockwork Orange, A Court of Mist and Fury, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and All Boys Aren't Blue, according to PEN American. Again, oftentimes these are pornographic in nature, which is the reason why a lot of parents don't want their kids to have access to them. The local event is an opportunity for Springfieldians to connect over the shared belief that ideas should never be off limits. Quote, "This event's about the pillars that keep democracy standing," said Jacob Brower, co-founder of Vote 417. Voting rights, public education, and a free press all depend on an informed public. When books are banned and access to knowledge is restricted, those pillars crack. We're here to remind people that democracy only works if we defend it. Local bookstores, including downtown's Bookmarks, after Karl Marx, M-A-R-X, have included, I know, right? Of all, like the irony of connecting up with a bookstore for freedom of speech that has its name like giving tribute to Karl Marx. I know. The Springfield Greene County Library District also hosts a monthly banned book club, as does the Glow Center. Now, what I thought was really interesting, and this is my recommendation, and I'm just shocked that the news leader did not list this as a way to mark the banned book week in Springfield. It wasn't just maybe, several weeks ago, there was an article in the news leader about, Christian students having a difficult time being able to be treated the same way as other students when it came to clubs. Some parents were pitching a fit about it. And one of the areas in which some left-wing parents were very upset was that Bibles, which are books,
right,
were being passed out to students outside of some of the schools. So as best I can tell, there's really only been one book that, and we're not talking about whether or not it's appropriate for it to be in the library. That's a different discussion. This was simply like just the ability to have the book in hand and outside of the school give it to kids. They wanted to ban that.
Whoa.
So and some of the parents said they should be at the very least across the street or further away, because even being across the street could be dangerous because kids could cross the street to try to get the books. No mention of that anywhere in this article. And so I think that I think this would be a fantastic idea, is to mark and honor Banned Book Week or Let Freedom Read Day, is go hand out Bibles at the schools in Springfield's public school district. Let's see what the left does. Let's watch the left rally around that cause and that effort of defending democracy and free ideas.
Well, so where does this take place? You said at Mothers?
It's the first 25 visitors receive a copy of a classic novel, which the classic novel thing, I think that's great.
Isn't that where doesn't the mayor still own
I don't
that?
I don't think he does any longer. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think.
Well, how about we all take Bibles to Mothers? How about we do that? And have them hand them out.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, I bet that they would allow it. I bet they would allow that to occur. Mothers, I think that they would. Now, maybe I'm wrong. If they didn't, I wouldn't be shocked. But I would be more interested to see, because this is so often, particularly when it comes to the pornography, the left, they couch it as, this is book banning in the schools. And they are just the beacons of freedom and ideas. And okay, well, let's go start handing out those Bibles then over there.
Certain exceptions.
Well, yeah. Well, except, see, that's hate speech.
Except, if you don't agree with us, then that doesn't count. And if you're Christian, then that doesn't count. And if you're Jewish, that doesn't count. And if you're black, yeah. Other than that, there might be some more exceptions.
We should start. I'd love to see someone hand out The Art of the Deal at the school, elementary schools. Can you imagine the left?
I will. Yes, I will buy those books and I will put them in the school. I will do that.
We could very quickly find liberals very actively attempting to ban books.
It's not at taxpayers' expense. It would be a private donation.
Yeah.
And I'll
honestly, and it may be too late in the game, but we talk about how churches have for too long been so subdued that it has allowed this sort of thing to grow. And I really genuinely, for a couple of, one, because it would be the right thing to do, but also in order to prove a point to some degree, next year, some Christian organization should, in the name of Let Freedom Read Day and Banned Book Week in Springfield, go hand out Bibles at area schools.
Yeah.
Handing out Bibles is something that is done all the time, all over the world. Most hotels still have Gideon Bibles in a drawer that are available. That these are donated. So I know that there must be some there are books, there are Bibles to be donated. Well, and let's do this next year.
An organization that could help is FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, because I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I know where my kids are in school, they're involved in this organization. They all have been, and they have Bibles that they read during this organization inside of school. So they could help hand out these Bibles too.
I'm sure what the left would be like, well, this is different, separation of church and state. Well, okay, first off, those we all know those words don't actually even exist anywhere in the Constitution. Exactly. And what is referenced is saying Congress can't pass laws establishing a religion. That's not what this is. But again, to the point, the left claims that they're against book banning, except for the reasons that they find to ban them. Like they'll claim, well, no, that can be banned because of this. Well, that can be banned because of that. We're not talking about those, but see, those don't count. That's not banning books if we decide they should be banned.
Well, I definitely like handing out Trump books.
Yeah, Trump books and the Bible.
Yeah.
You know? That's
right. Okay, we're going to start that initiative.
What about the bell curve? That'd be a good one. Remember that controversy? The bell curve, hand out the bell curve. It is so... Well, look at how many times that it made the news that Amazon employees were like, at one point, I think a bunch of them were going to walk out because there was some book that they did not want Amazon to make available. Yeah. The left is always doing this sort of thing when it runs counter to their belief system, but their caveat again is, well, that doesn't count. That's not book banning because that book is about hate, and there's no room for hate in our society.
Well, there's so much about love. The Bible is about love.
Well, it's different, see, because Jesus was magic.
I don't know. You should probably read it. They might like it.
We got Christy Fulnecki with us more ahead. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield Stock 1041. Is that your new favorite video of the week now?
I don't know. That was pretty funny. I mean, I've
we-
never seen so many sombreros in my whole life.
We were so yesterday. Sarah was showing me an AI video, and I just sent one to Sarah and you. People wonder what we're laughing about, and it's Nancy Pelosi, and she's CNN being asked a question, and then she puts on a sombrero and bottoms up a tequila bottle, and then falls over a truck. And so we were talking about yesterday. I said, it's so funny, and you don't know what the future is going to bring. But a year ago, everyone is in panic mode over what AI is going to mean for the world. And it's like a year later, this is what it's doing for us. Like, if you had been like, oh, what's AI going to look like a year from now? We're all going to be replaced and robots are going to be taking over. Like, actually, it's mostly going to be sombreros on Democrat elected officials.
I was talking about if you were offended by the cartoon mustache.
So that's what we'll be using AI for. Like I said, it can still kill us all, but in the meantime, it's been pretty fun additive to our culture.
Well, no, my favorite video. Okay, this Katie Porter.
Oh my! We played audio yesterday of that interview.
That was my favorite. I mean, speaking of white liberal women,
exactly.
I mean,
yep, they're nuts
right there.
Well, did you see?
I mean, she is straight up crazy.
Well, so here's what Politico had a piece on this, and she's the leading Democratic. She's the leading candidate for governor in California right now.
Is she in the state? Is she a state representative?
She was a member of Congress.
Oh, okay.
She ran for the Senate. Adam Schiff beat her.
Oh,
and
okay.
she's running for governor, and she right now is like healthily ahead of everyone else. I know what's California; they're nuts out there.
Wow.
But and Politico has this piece. That behavior is not unexpected. This is who she is. She's long, but either which way, still liberal.
LA.
Yeah, somewhere in California, may have been LA, but for some reason I was thinking Sacramento. Well. Now there's another video that's been released, and it is of her, and I don't know if she's setting up to film I'm guessing some video she's going to do in her home. And
Ooh, that's scary.
I know. And she said something that was incorrect. So somebody in her staff in the background is, letting her know, oh, actually it's this. And so you see she goes off using the F word. Get the F out of my screen. I mean, just. And so the piece in Politico is like, the reason this is kind of damaging to her is because this is reinforcing what everyone has already said about her. So it's like not, which is sort of a weird thing. I don't know why that makes it worse, but apparently it does. Because it's like, if people know she's like this, why would this be any surprise? But I think it's interesting that video leaked out, because it's clear that, especially people who used to work for her, they are the biggest advocates of people knowing how horrible she is as a human being. But she's kind of an idiot. I mean, you watch that exchange with that reporter. She's incoherent about things, and then she's just nuts.
And like,
but
who
this is
can
what
answer
Democrats
a question, a follow-up question. She was getting upset because she was asking her follow-up questions.
She's like, I've never had to answer follow-up questions before. Well, she's probably right.
I mean, just like Kamala. I mean,
yeah.
She was vice president. She couldn't answer
Kamala,
questions.
you racist.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I can't pronounce anything anyway. And then the funny thing is this lady Porter is that Jesse Waters only calls her potatoes now because she
like a sack of one?
No, did you hear what she did? She took a boiling pot of potatoes and dumped it on her husband.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's the whole thing. So they were calling her potatoes last night because she dumped a hot boiling.
Well, the thing I took away, did you see the interview or just hear it?
No, I saw the interview.
Yeah, she should not wear sleeveless shirts. That's something that she should have walked. She's just it doesn't help that she's gross looking. I mean, let's be honest.
I know, and then she's
if you are attractive, you can get away with certain things. As a guy or a gal, she does not have any leeway whatsoever. To be
about her the way she looks or her personality. I mean, and in today's world, when you have to run for, I mean, Newsom is a terrible person, but I mean, he's very flamboyant when he talks. But I mean, he doesn't look terrible to watch him on TV.
Yeah,
I mean, she looks miserable.
She's just
and
nasty.
terrible looking.
I can't. The part going back to she dumped a pot of boiling potatoes on her husband. The part about all that shocks me is that somebody married her. Can you imagine?
I know.
For a number of reasons.
Now, though.
Good Lord.
She's oh yeah, and can you imagine trying to date her?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. I would like jump scare every time she walked next to me. I'd be like, don't stand in the kitchen with her.
I mean, it could not be a dinner date. Can you imagine sitting across from her watching her eat? I can only imagine.
And then like hold the fork like she's gonna stab you. She apparently has a kid. I know at least one child because you made reference.
That's good.
That's gonna be a messed up kid.
I'm sure already is. Christy Fulnecki, more in moments. I'm Nick Reed. Christy Fulnecki is with us. This story is from today. Mask mandates return in wealthy blue state county. Leaders cite risk of COVID and up vaccine recommendations. Is it a county,
What?
California wine country, beefing up its vaccine recommendations, instituting a mask mandate because of
Okay,
of
then no one
COVID.
is going to go there.
So,
We're going to kill your tourism.
Sonoma County. These people live in a different world, total delusion.
I'm telling you, that's not going to spread to
the mandate
the
will
Midwest.
run until March 31st of 2026.
Well, you just killed your tourism in your wine country.
Probably not for lefties. They'll feel this is the safest place for them. They're like, thank goodness, a place I can go and be safe.
They probably never stopped wearing masks to begin with.
Yeah,
probably.
right. That's probably true. Yeah,
And-
because some people in big cities still wear them.
And these are the same people who claim that Republicans and Donald Trump are wannabe dictators that insist on telling you how to live your lives, and they're still implementing mask mandates. Like, what? Just give everyone a rabbit's foot, or some other, or crystals to carry around to protect them from the evil virus.
Well, is this the same place? Because all the Democrats in Congress were supposed to go to some place in California during this whole shutdown, and it was a big joke because they were going to wine country,
right? Well,
and they were gonna have all their meetings. So maybe this is the same place where they went to.
So this is what's funny if it is. The mandate doesn't start until November 1st, which would be after that.
Yeah,
which I could see being the case.
Yeah,
Well,
so
let's
it's
wait
probably
until
gonna-
they.
yeah.
What a bunch of lunatics. Christy
right.
Volnecki, as always, it is a great
Yes,
pleasure.
that was very fun.
Appreciate
Thank
you being here, and hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We have Author of the Week coming up, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone and News in 60 Seconds. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041. Hey, everyone. My name is Nick Reed. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. Last night, like virtually every night, the weather was so wonderful sitting out on the patio or outdoor living space created by Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor. And my wife says, we've used the smokeless fire pit in the past. The girl child, in fact, had a number of friends over one night, and so I got it all set up. And the weather wasn't, necessarily what one would think of to build a fire to sit around. But, it's exciting. It's new. You have friends over, and so I built it. But as we sat around it last night, my wife is like, she goes, that weather, it's getting down. This is fire pit weather. And I was like, I think this weekend will be a great fire pit weather night. That's for sure. And it's, again, just this outdoor living space created by Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoors, it has changed the way that we utilize our property. And instead of, like so often, everybody's kind of doing their own thing in separate rooms, we're all together out there on the outdoor patio. And it's just really been an enhancer in terms of us talking to each other about our days, things that are going on. And, that's just, it's so much more than adding to the value and look of your home. Is the point. And you can have yours customized for whatever it is you're looking for, to entertain large groups, or maybe just an area to sit outside and to meditate and to pray and to just have some alone time. You name it, they can do it. They can craft it. And landscaping as well, drainage, sound, lighting, water features. Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor. You can find them at hunterhardscapes.com, also under Nick's endorsements at ksgf.com. Coming up, our author of the week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone, in just a couple of moments. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 76. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 53. For your Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 79. And taking a look at Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 82.
1041. I'm Nick Reed. It's Thursday, which means it's Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. Our author, Dr. Gilda Carl, the book Real Men Don't Go Woke, the book they would not publish, the truth that must be told. And thank you for being with us. I know you've written so many different books. So to tell us about your what motivated you to write on this subject?
Well, women are the only people who consume self-help. However, I had this need. I got a message from somewhere that said, next book has to be a man. I had for men. I had written one book when I was the Love Doc on MTV that was called Don't Lie on Your Back for a Guy Who Doesn't Have Yours. And as women continue to come to me and say, well, I did everything he asked, and you know, he still dumped me. I said, well, maybe that was the problem. You really have to care about yourself first before you're looking for love. And then it occurred to me, how could a guy have your back if he doesn't have his own? And I had been seeing more and more information about what has happened to the men in our culture. And it's pretty devastating. Men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. They are having depression and loneliness skyrocket. Their life expectancy is declining. Their depression and loneliness are only getting worse as their testosterone levels are going down, down, down. The male Y chromosome is shrinking, and 90% of workplace deaths belong to men. So I had to do this. I mean, it was just, I had to. I had no choice but to write a book about how men could possibly heal from all of this. And it's not a self-help book. It is a men's health book. And that's a big differentiation.
There's been, for some time now here in the United States, the talk of toxic masculinity and these, yeah, I do want to get into that in a moment, but I think that I don't know if maybe people believe this is only a problem here in the United States, but some of what you write about is that this isn't just a U.S. problem.
No, boys. And we hear at our meetings from people around the world, and they talk about what is happening to their men, the false accusations, the being behind in 12 significant areas, being behind women, in education, in health, violence against men. I mean, we always thought, well, men are the perpetrators of all this violence, and yet we see the statistics that show us that women have more domestic violence against them than men do. So it goes on and on. And I just had to write this book because men are feeling so lost. Today's male says, I'm finished with women. I'm not going to get married anymore. I'm not going to have children. One guy said, I have been telling my sons not to get married and not to have babies. I mean, this is not an answer. Right. Running away from a problem is never an answer. The answer is to understand what is going on and how we can help you, how we can change the statistics that are so sorrowful.
We are
okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to, we're talking with Dr. Gilda Carl, and the book again, Real Men Don't Go Woke, the book they would not publish, the truth that must be told. You know, the toxic masculinity thing, I think that perhaps, and I include myself in this, underestimated the damage that whole movement, if you will, could do. Probably because the era I grew up in, that wasn't a thing that existed. And then when you started hearing about it, I think for a lot of people my age, it was sort of an eye roll, like, oh, here we go again, just another thing they're going to dog on us about. but not thinking about the implications of younger, like boys that were becoming men, and that is like that's all that they've known is hearing essentially that, oh, you're bad, masculinity is bad, it's toxic, and I suppose that the perspective that I and so many others have had that here's just another annoying little attack on guys had much more profound effects on people who have grown up in that.
Don't you think that young boys are not sensing this? Young boys are not feeling the same feelings? It's very worrisome. I did a book signing in Scottsdale, and the group, usually you do a book signing, there's maybe 10 people in the room, but this book signing was packed with men and women. They were outside the doors. They couldn't even get in, standing room only. And I was telling them that boys as young as 10 are committing suicide. And they looked at me like I had two heads. And then we went home, and the next day, one of the attendees called me to say that while I was talking about this, her best friend's 13-year-old boy had committed suicide. And she said, boy, this really rang true to me after we had just been talking about this. But, you're talking about what the ramifications are for men. One man in Belgium wrote to me and he said, I know I'm a man, but this whole idea of toxicity has driven me crazy. And now I am declaring myself as non-binary. Well, that's not a way to go either.
Yeah.
So
that's not how that works.
No, that's not. So rather than running away from relationships, running away from marriage, or running away from women, I think it's time for men to understand that there are two different kinds of women. There are the mean girls, and those are the girls who are saying toxic, toxic, toxic.
Right.
And there are the real women who love men, want men to succeed, support men, and are raising little men. And, I speak to organizations all over the world, and it's always the same problem. I am so grateful, Dr. Gilda, that you are speaking for me, because I lost my job, said a PhD. I lost my job for speaking out, and I didn't speak about politics. I spoke my mind about my feelings about what the company was doing wrong. And he could not continue that way. He has a better job now, of course, but the thing is that men are now becoming silent. They just don't want to be involved anymore. They don't want to be canceled and castrated and put into a corner somewhere. And that is totally unfair. But they have to realize more than ever before that we have a dichotomy of women out there. The women who are good to men ought to be found. Don't just throw out all women thinking that all women are the same.
I want to get your thought on this. I believe that females have, like mothers and sons, there are things that sons can learn and should learn from their mothers, and vice versa. Daughters with their fathers, and very importantly, even how to be treated by a man, what to look for in a husband. And
Right.
there's just a lot of those lessons that are so important, that are helpful to young girls as they become women. And there was this other term that came about some time ago, mansplaining. And my and my wife and daughter, they've before joked with, because we have a good sense of humor. We rib each other all the time, and they'll sometimes like, "Oh, you're gonna mansplain to me," and for us, it's a laughing point. But
A joke, yeah.
it really got me thinking how that you could otherwise have what would be just normal, caring young girls or women that are being trained to think that being open to learning things from men, or from like just growing in terms of learning things from your own father, that's a bad thing, because that's mansplaining, as if trying to impart on another human being who happens to be female information that could help them is a bad thing to do. And it really struck me how damaging that can be to girls and women.
Oh my goodness, it certainly is. You know, there was a post on Instagram, and it said male suicide rates with a tear dropping down from a woman's eye. Another woman came into the mix and said the rates aren't high enough. But the really upsetting part of this on Instagram was that almost 7,000 women agreed with that men's suicide rates are not high enough. Well, I talked about that on a TikTok, and that TikTok has almost 70,000 likes. That I said, what the heck is wrong with these women? Yeah. Who are these women? Are these the women who are coming to me to find out, how do I find a man? Nothing's working. That's impossible. These women are setting themselves up for much heartache, and it's very unfortunate. And when you named the title of my book and read the subtitle, The Book They Would Not Publish, The Truth That Must Be Told, it was because I used that subtitle because I tried to get this book published by mainstream media, but the mainstream media consists of editors who are in their 30s who are all female, and they are all woke. Unfortunately, men their own age are moving towards conservatism. So we're finding a big disconnect here. Well, and Bumble has shown that these men are going for women who are older, the real women, not the mean girls anymore. Isn't that interesting?
Well, I'm sure you've seen there have been numerous versions of a video posted. I'm sure there's more than one. And it'll be a gal, and she's like, everyone, I'm looking, where on earth are all the liberal men? I cannot find, like, she was genuinely looking for somebody. And of course, it just gets recirculated with people essentially mocking her. But it's like, but you don't want real men. I mean, it just seems so obvious.
Thank you. You want putty in your hands that you can mold and tell what to do and how to do it. And real men are not putting up with that.
We were talking with our author of the week, Dr. Gilda Carl. I have this theory that, well, I guess it's a hypothesis, but when it first broke, I don't know how long ago, that Taylor Swift was dating Travis Kelce, I said, this is going to be very interesting to watch, because she has a reputation for not being able to successfully find a male counterpart to be in a relationship with. And I said, it seems as if at least the relationships we know about aren't really the alpha males. They're more of the artsy left-wing individuals. I said, Travis Kelce here is at least seemingly the complete opposite. He's this brute. He's this big toxic guy. And it's going to be interesting to see if maybe that's what she's been missing all this time. And here, a year plus later, they're engaged to get married. Now, I don't know if I'm right about that, but I predicted that we might see a different outcome based off of that.
Well, category, that age group, he did the pursuing. She did not. He tried and tried and tried to get close to her, and there was no way. I mean, he had to pull all kinds of strings of people he knew in order to really get to know her. And she loved that. She was not a woke woman at that moment. She loved that. And this is how their relationship has proceeded. They try to make life safe for one another, supportive of one another. They will twist themselves into pretzels to get to each other's games or concerts. And this is not the traditional mean girl type of woman who is going to abuse a man. So even though they are in the woke age, as I mentioned in Real Men Don't Go Woke, they are not a woke couple.
Our author of the week, Dr. Gilda Carl. So before we do let you go, the big question here is there hope? What is it that we can do in order to fix this? And do you think even just naturally we're beginning to see some of the younger generations of men start to reject much of this wokeness?
Well, I certainly hope so, but Real Men Don't Go Woke is not just a book explaining what is happening.
Right.
First of all, I use celebrities as examples, and men have said, I have been so depressed. But now that I found out that Simon Cowell, for example, has suffered from the same depression that I have, I feel much better and more in control, and he has overcome his depression. And there are many examples in that. But I also have a section in the book that says what you can do to develop a stronger spine. And if I didn't call this book Real Men Don't Go Woke, I might have called it Real Men Don't Go Wuss. Real Men Don't Go Spineless. Real Men Don't Go Voiceless, because that is what is happening. But there are specific exercises. For example, what was done to me? What did I do about it? And what do I want to do now? I mean, simple questions you can ask yourself in the privacy of your home while you're reading this book will start moving you to at least consciousness of the world that you have been experiencing, and shoving that in the faces of the world and say, no more of this.
Our author of the week, Dr. Gilda Carl, the book Real Men Don't Go Woke, the book They Would Not Publish, the Truth That Must Be Told. Again, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. For Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 76. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 53. For your Friday, mostly sunny with a high near 79. And taking a look at Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 82.
Did you want to...
Oh, yes. I would love to tell you about the Pyramid Roofing Company. You know, this time of year can be pretty brutal on your roof, from just the pop-up storms that we can see to lots of leaves and debris in your gutter, and that can oftentimes lead to backups and get underneath your shingles whenever we have a lot of rain, to the fluctuating temperatures that can cause shifting on your roof. Now is a good time to schedule that free roof inspection, and I recommend my pal Josh over at the Pyramid Roofing Company. Now, the Pyramid team, they do residential, commercial, and metal roofing services. They use high quality materials, and they don't leave you hanging through that insurance process. So if it is time to have the Pyramid Roofing Company team out to your home, reach out to Josh today. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
We were talking earlier, and it's really made the rounds, this interview that gubernatorial candidate Katie Porter out in California made, in which it didn't go well for her. She is a Democrat running for governor. She used to be a Democrat congresswoman that was known as being one of the just worst people on Capitol Hill. She had an extremely high turnover rate of staff because she treats people like crap. She's been accused of, I didn't even realize this until we were talking about it in the 7 o'clock hour. Jesse Waters refers to her as potato because she evidently once poured a pot of cooked potatoes on her husband out of anger for something. And if you've ever just watched her in any sort of exchange, you can tell she's unhinged. This is a woman who has no control over her emotions. And this isn't a secret, I guess. Well, it's not a secret to people who know her or know of her. This is who she is. And she sat down with a reporter in Sacramento, like all the other candidates for governor did, and she just didn't like the questions, and so she pitched a fit about it, and she threw a temper tantrum. And it's getting a lot of coverage, primarily from, well, I shouldn't say primarily, but so-called conservative media is focusing on it to some degree. Much of it because it is a demonstration of a pattern by Democrats, particularly Democrat women, and how they have a reputation for being mean to people, just being nasty. Hillary Clinton, of course, Kamala Harris. These are all individuals that have extremely high turnover rates of staff. Jasmine Crockett, Carol Moseley Braun, Cori Bush. I mean, you just go through the list. It's the same thing over and over again. Now, for Democrats, it's not something they can continue to cover up and avoid like they oftentimes do for other Democrat women, but it's more difficult because she is the front runner for the governor's race in California. And just so you know, the way that it works in California, they don't have a system like we have in which each party picks a candidate and then those parties run off against one another. They have instead set up their election so the top two vote, everybody, Republican, Democrat, Independent, they all run together, and the top two vote getters face off against one another. And because of the high number of Democrat voters, this system then results in voters, including Republicans and everyone, only having two Democrats from which to choose. It's not to get too far off the beaten path, but this is the same state that in Gavin Newsom and others, claim that Republicans gerrymandering is rigging the system. They don't even allow Republicans to put up a candidate in the general election. They changed their form of voting so that the vast majority of the time in the general election, the only options are Democrats. This is one of the ways they have rigged things out in California. So anyhow, of all of the Democrats running, Katie Porter has been the top contender. And as you can imagine, a lot of Democrats are taking advantage of this. In fact, one of her opponents bought airtime in at least one of the major markets in California just to air part of that interview. So the knives are out. They see this as an opportunity to perhaps knock her off that top pedestal. But I knew that this would eventually come. It did not take long. Sacramento Bee has an opinion piece, Katie Porter and the Cost of Being an Unlikable Woman in California Politics. And she notes that women seeking the most coveted elected offices in the nation often have to fight their opponents and their public's double standard of behavior at the same time, double standards that penalize women while exonerating men for the same behavior or worse. And I am so tired of this whiny approach by the left that claim that men never get criticized for their looks, men never get criticized for their personalities, men never get criticized because of their attitudes or the way that they treat people. It's only women who get treated that way. That is total BS. Now, it does get a little bit muddy in evaluating it because on the left, it doesn't matter what you do, you get a free pass. Now, if it's a primary situation or you're running against other Democrats, it's a little bit different, which is what Katie Porter is learning here. But, so Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or any of these people, they can be just as mean and awful and horrible as possible, and it doesn't matter to the left. But Donald Trump's a man. Are we supposed to believe that he gets a free pass on everything by the media and because he's a man? How many times has he been referred to as orange? How many times has his looks been mocked? His hair, or he's accused of being overweight and out of shape. I mean, the orange thing is something that the left has, just run with. They during this first term, they focused a bit more on it. I think that they don't necessarily focus on it as much today because they've realized it doesn't really matter to the average voter, that it's irrelevant to them. So the effectiveness isn't there, so it isn't something they focus on so much. But yeah, the left has always hit him because of his looks. And, of course, he is called Hitler. He's called a dictator. And men, Republican and Democrats, depending on how they look, get criticized. Chris Christie got criticized for his looks as a Republican, a fat one. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, fat one, gets criticized because of his looks. And, Gavin Newsom, now, it's this sort of weird contradiction because I don't know that anyone necessarily portrays him as being this overly handsome guy, but there's this perception that, people think he's good looking. Many people, though, see him as a slick back, just sort of a sleazeball type of guy. Anyway, point being, every time there is a Democrat woman, it's got to be a Democrat woman, that is legitimately criticized for her behavior, whether it is the way she treated that reporter talking about Katie Porter, or Hillary Clinton, of course, was known for just being one of the most horrific. Well, I mean, the list of Democrat women, they're just known to be this way. But this default of pretending, it's just so unfair because it's a double standard, that's the sort of behavior that if a guy did it, he'd be praised for it. No. I don't know what world you're living in, but this world in which male politicians never get insulted, male politicians never get accused of being bullies or mean, male politicians never, are never mocked for the way that they do this or that. It is fantasy land. And I think that I suppose on one hand, the fact that there isn't much pushback on this is potentially a positive sign that the vast majority of Americans, it doesn't even qualify as noise or background noise at this point. It's just the same lazy, whiny position that can't find a legitimate defense of someone, so they go back to, well, it's because she's a woman, and if she was a man, she wouldn't be criticized for this sort of thing. But on the other hand, I just, the fact that it doesn't get called out, I find just a little bit of annoying, because I don't know. Some of these things eventually, as untrue as they are, as clearly untrue as they are. I mean, you can list example after example after example in order to demonstrate that it is a false premise. But because people never push back on it, it sort of lulls people into this feeling, this emotional reaction that, well, yeah, that's kind of true. No, it's not. Not true at all. Just another whiny excuse from people who refuse to either take responsibility for themselves or recognize the responsibility that one of their allies should be taking for their own behavior. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Greta Thunberg uses image of starving Israeli hostage in a post, falsely claiming that it was a Palestinian, probably because she's an idiot. Greta Thunberg mistakenly posted an image. This is a town hall story, so they are describing it as mistakenly posted. An image of a starving Israeli hostage who was forced by Hamas to dig his own grave, posting it, claiming it was an example of, quote, Palestinian suffering, in a social media post just one day before the second anniversary of the October 7th attack on Israel. The image showed Eviatar David, one of the hundreds of hostages abducted by Hamas in 2023. He remains among the 48 hostages still held in Gaza and just one of 24 believed to be alive. Thunberg's post, with the posting of the Israeli, said, the suffering of Palestinian prisoners is not a matter of opinion. It is a fact of cruelty and dehumanization. Humanity cannot be selective. Justice cannot have borders. David's sister, Yila David, immediately blasted Thunberg, noting, you should make a research before you post things that you don't understand. In the sixth slide, he put a photo of an Israeli hostage who Hamas starved on purpose. Every minute you are not deleting the post, you're becoming a bigger joke. The images of David sparked global condemnation when they were released as propaganda by Hamas, with the Israeli Foreign Ministry and the Consulate General of Israel in New York putting the grueling images on a Times Square billboard to raise awareness. Netanyahu noting that Hamas terrorists deliberately starve our hostages, documenting them in a cynical, humiliating, malicious manner. The video of David showed him crossing out dates on a calendar indicating that when he last ate, and saying, this is the grave I think I'm going to be buried in, time is running out. This reminds me of when Democrats Someone found during Trump's first term a photo of kids, quote, in cages during the Obama administration and posted it thinking that it was Donald Trump putting kids in cages. And all of the media jumped all over it until it was noted, of course. Yeah, that was Obama. No tethering to the truth. These people have no... I know this is just such a common theme, but we see it every day. That instinct many of us have to not want to be embarrassed. And so generally before we post something, we try and check, does this make sense? Do I think this is real? How do I find out whether this is real or not? They don't have that because they don't care. None of it matters to them. The truth does not matter to them. It's whatever advances their lie. This is going to be an interesting thing to note. You know, there's obviously so much focus on the positive potential of the kidnapped Israelis being released. Well, this is one of the phases of this peace deal, and it involves the release of Palestinian prisoners. It's going to be interesting to see what each set of prisoners looks like. I mean, we're told that the evil Jews are the masters of genocide, that they are these horrible devils walking upon the earth. It will be very interesting to see the side-by-side comparison, the health of the Israeli hostages versus the, quote, Palestinian hostages. I have this sneaking suspicion that just visually the average observer, not even needing to be a doctor or a nutritionist, will recognize that one group is going to be much healthier than the other. And as usual, it will defy the lie that we've been told or attempted to have been told by the left and the media all across this world and this country about who really is the bad guy in all of this. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Someone texted in, Sarah, on the Pyramid Roofing Company text line. What was that song behind Sarah's weather report? That was at 7:51, so I'm guessing around 7:36. Do you remember offhand?
I would have to look.
Yeah, I was at 7:51, so I'm guessing that whatever that 7:30 break is. I just can't believe that offhand, me throwing that at you, you don't
I know.
know. But yeah,
She will find it by the end of this
find
podcast.
it for you if you are still listening. The text came in at 7:51, so I'm guessing that'd be around 7:35, 7:36. Here's another text.
Josiah Queen, Dusty Bibles.
There you go. Josiah King?
Josiah Queen.
Queen.
Yes, Dusty Bibles.
Dusty Bibles. There we have it. If you are still listening, will you just text a thumbs up or something so we know that you heard it? Another text coming in. That trial attorney out of Kansas City commercial you have on a loop is a riot. Yes, wait, is that where it's out of, Kansas City?
Yes, uh-huh.
So is that a local ad? It must, I mean...
I don't know. It just showed up just a couple days ago.
Yeah,
the first time I heard it, I was like, "What the?"
I thought it was barter spots or spots that we run in exchange for airing the shows that we air. That's their payment, if you will, is we run their advertiser commercials, and a lot of them are during the show, but some of them are outside of the show. We're told that you've got to air, 10 a week or 30 a week or whatever it is throughout the day. And I thought that was what it was. But then I realized, no, that's not what it is. It's like I need to actually, I hear it to some degree, what he's talking about, but I've never really listened to it. So I'm going to have to look the guy up and see. I wonder if it's like an attorney in Kansas City who just bought in this market.
I have no idea.
Because I don't think it would be something that is just national. Maybe it is. I don't know. Now I'm going to have to look at it. But yeah, it is pretty funny. It sounds like a late night slap chop purchase, like, as seen on TV a little bit to me. It is pretty funny. I'm with you on that. Pro-Palestinian agitators attack police as riots erupt in Boston. Between 200 and 300 people participated in a demonstration in downtown Boston on Tuesday. 13 people arrested. A police officer was sent to the hospital. Police saying as violence escalated, more officers were deployed to the area while the rioters continued to resist dispersal. You would think instead of rioting, these people would be glad because they wanted a ceasefire. Or that's what they said. Remember all that? Fetterman, once again, deserves credit. He has asked, essentially, where are all of you ceasefire people celebrating? Prior to Hamas actually accepting the ceasefire, and of course we'll see how we take it with a grain of salt, Fetterman was asking, where are all of you ceasefire people to protest for Hamas to accept the ceasefire? Some of you may recall since October 7th, there's been this sometimes unspoken mantra of, oh no, we don't support Hamas. We support a ceasefire. Yet when a ceasefire has been on the table and Hamas wasn't taking it, they weren't calling for Hamas to take it. Why? Because it isn't about a ceasefire. It's about Hamas and supporting Hamas. This is why you don't see these people celebrating. See, they see this as, wait a minute, Hamas is going to, are they actually going to release these Jews? Well, what are they doing here? They're not really sure what the plan is from their buddies in Hamas. Their behavior shows us who they really are. We will see you at Scramblers tomorrow. Glenn Beck's coming up next. I'm Nick Reed.